Call the council meeting to order. There's one amendment to the agenda. There's dealing with a red program that we will have bylaw 19 in the bylaws. Other than that, motion to accept the agenda. Declaration of pecuniary interest, if any. None noted. Reeves report that we still have a lot of frost in the ground, as the water department knows well. That too much of it's got a little solid, but other than that, it's one of those things of working in the system that we do. Moving on to reading the minutes of the previous meeting. Gordon and Bailey. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried.
That applies to both the minutes?
Yep, that was what I was figuring. Okay. Basically in deputations, this is one of the good ones that we have, employee service awards. So, Gary, you want to take the lead?
Okay, thank you, Reeve. Tonight, we're pleased to recognize and congratulate several township employees for their years of service and for their hard work and professionalism in carrying out programs and services for the township. Now, unfortunately, some of our recipients weren't available tonight, but I wanted to recognize them tonight anyway. Brandy Hutton is an early childhood educator in our Child Care Services Department, and she's been with the township for 5 years. Rob Copeman, roads foreman with the Public Works Department, has been with the township for 10 years. Rochelle Gary, administrative assistant, programmer. Rochelle's here tonight. Thank you, Rochelle. She's with our Recreation and Facilities Department and has been with the township and the former town of Wingham for 20 years. Julie Warden, with a food services person with Child Care Services. She's been with the township for 20 years. Kathy Adams, our Director of Corporate Services, Deputy Clerk, has been with the township and the former town of Wingham for 25 years. Kathy's here tonight. Also wanted to recognize Dave Cook, Facility Manager, Recreation and Facility Department, for 25 years of service. Greg Story, Utility Operator with the Utility Department, 25 years of service. And Julie Wheeler, our Deputy Treasurer, has been with the township in the former village of Blythe for 25 years. And celebrating 30 years of public service and commitment is Julie Chester, early childhood educator, Child Care Services. Please join me in thanking and congratulating and recognizing our municipal staff.
Congratulations and thank you for your work.
Thank you so much. Okay.
I think the meeting wanted to go to if they could. Shop. I'd like a picture of everybody. Oh. Here's your photo op.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well done.
Okay.
1, 2, and 3.
Thank you.
You ready? Okay, we'll have a draft budget presentation. Donna, take it away.
Okay, thank you everyone. I'm sorry I'm sitting with my back to everyone. We're just kind of have to set up so I can use the projector here. So thank you and welcome to coming out to the 2014 budget presentation. As you know, at North Huron, we're always chasing the elusive dollar. We needed to know, as part of the strategic planning process, what's important to us here at North Huron. And in the strategic plan, we determined what that was. So the most common theme was economic development, communication and citizen engagement, fiscal responsibility, and operational excellence, healthy and safe communities, and we value and protect our natural environment. The strategic planning process was a good opportunity to interact with North Huron community stakeholders. And how do we do that? It's important to find the balance. We are trying to maintain high quality programs and services while finding a balance between what we want and what we need. The asset management plan is going to be an excellent future tool for us to be able to make those determinations. We need to invest in priorities, limit tax increases, and make the best use of our limited dollars. We have lots going on in 2013, and there were a lot of accomplishments. I just wanted to go through some of those with you. As we discussed, we maintained a wide range of programs and services. We purchased a new CBO vehicle. We had a great partnership with the new Libro ballpark. We have the town hall renovations, which we're hoping gets wrapped up in the spring if we get some good weather. For Memorial Hall, the 1419 partnership, we had the building assessment and the 3D scan. We have a couple of pieces of equipment. We have the Case 570 tractor, that's for Wingham Ward, and it was a used piece of equipment. And we had the new Kubota tractor blower that went to Blythe. So with the phase 1 of the asset management plan completed, it's important to set up a fleet management strategy where we replace equipment, sometimes with new or sometimes with used. And sometimes it takes us a couple of years to save up to purchase these pieces of equipment. It helps us to reduce ongoing maintenance. And once we get through phase 2 of our asset management plan, we'll have a greater focus on the fleet strategy and it will give us greater detail. But we're going to talk a little bit more about the asset management plan a bit later on. Also for the Wingham Ward in Well 3, we had a pump upgrade which helped improve our capacity. And our utilities department, I'm sure you saw them out and about all summer. They were working with Hurontel on service locates and repairs for the fiber optic installation in town. Also, we had the New Holland tractor for the Wingham Ward. We did the 1.5 blocks of milled pavement and new asphalt on Victoria Street. We had 2 blocks of new sidewalk on John Street from CKNX to the new school, and that was on one side. We completed the Park Drive streetlight replacement project. You've heard us talk over the year about the Blythe well upgrades, and that's going to be a work in progress for the next couple of years. We finished the Blythe Arena roof repairs, and also Mill Street is another project that you've heard a lot about, and we're going to continue to be talking about that project in 2014. We've developed a number of partnerships with community groups, and those included the Alice Munro Festival, Homecoming, which is coming up in 2014, and the Muskrat Festival. Also, there was a new before and after program at the Maitland Elementary School. Also in 2013, we were able to develop a new North Huron Economic Development Committee. There's ongoing work and meetings with the Wingham Creek Residential Development. We had a very good mock disaster exercise for emergency management. We have our 5-year agreements in place for fire with our partners, Morris Turnberry, Central Huron, and ACW. I'm sure you've all noticed the electrical vehicle charging unit across the street in front of the museum, and we hope that that promotes ecotourism. They're always doing some sort of advertising so that people who have the electric cars know where those units are located. We're working through some municipal branding initiatives, and we had a lot of work on a comprehensive review and official plan. We had a good partnership with the Blythe Legion and the Lions for the Blythe Ballpark improvements. Wi-Fi was installed at the North Huron Community Complex, so now both community centers offer that service free. We finished up our hazardous material assessment, so all the municipal facilities are now completed. We set up e-post so that if anyone is interested in receiving your bills from North Huron online, that's a new service. You would have received these inserts in your bills, and I also have some more information about that. Anyone can see me if they're interested. We've talked about phase 1 of the asset management plan. Last year as well, the first time, we prepared a tax flyer and a budget video to give more information after the budget was passed, and both of those things we're going to update this year and put those on the website. Well number 3 also had a new motor and pump. The fellows were busy keeping the snow cleared and the pipes unthawed. There was a number of airport renovations, and the new lease was signed for the farmland. We also had a new lease agreement signed with the Knights of Columbus, which are some of our partners. We met our compliance issues with the Green Energy Act, and we also worked with the University of Guelph for a partnership on the house and dam. So there was a lot going on in 2013, and we still have a lot more to do in 2014, and we'll talk about some of those things as we work through. So where did we end up in 2013? We had a small surplus before depreciation entries were posted of $17,901.75. Our total expenses ended up at $14,996,000 and revenue of $15,014,104. We stayed on target for the most part, and we were able to mitigate any efforts throughout the year if there was any problems that arose partway through the year to make sure that they didn't impact us greatly at year end. Also, we were able to transfer to about $290,000 to reserves for unmarked usage in the future. Some of those reserves, though, will be used for various projects in 2014. In 2012, our auditors recommended setting up a tax stabilization reserve. And municipalities use this reserve without waiting to see where their previous year end ended up. And it prevents great fluctuations, and it can also be used for emergencies. So for example, when we talk about adding the complex roof back into the budget, that's part of where we were able to find that money to be able to complete that project. The budget process, as you know, is a long drawn out process. It involves hours and hours of work, and we need to review priorities from council. We look at grants and projects, and as you know, it becomes more and more difficult each year with less money. It's definitely a teamwork exercise. And we started last fall. September the 18th was our first kickoff for the discussing capital items for 2014. And all the department heads start gathering information in the fall, getting estimates and working out best prices to go through the budget. As you know, the budget is just an estimate though. We try to get the best price throughout the year, and we're always working on changes and better ways of doing things throughout each and every year. And the budget is a starting point. As you know, we made various cuts to be able to get to where we are tonight. And we have to use the 2013 year-to-dates along with estimates and any other relevant information that we can make use of to make sure that we have as accurate starting point as possible. The budget process is continuous, and it certainly doesn't stop with the passing of the budget. It requires ongoing monitoring by all of the department heads and council, and we look for feedback throughout the year as well to see how we're doing. There's many difficult decisions that we have to make, and feedback from community stakeholders is extremely important. We're always trying to get the budget passed earlier and earlier each year, so that it gives us more opportunity to actually get the work done. We try to follow, as part of the budget process, it's important that we do follow the strategic plan and the goals outlined in that document. We face a number of challenges while we're working through the budget process. This year, of course, I'm sure everyone heard a lot of talk on the radio. Municipalities were especially hard hit with reduction in the provincial OMPF funding. We weren't hit as hard as some municipalities, but we did see a reduction of $72,800, which equated to a 1.68% reduction. We had insurance costs that were going up about $13,000, increased wage and benefits costs. So once the budget, the first draft is compiled, the senior management team, they review it and collaborate on proposed options and ways to determine how they can possibly reduce the levy to bring a presentable document before council. And again, as some of you have sat through some of these long meetings, we started out at a 13.5% increase and it raised in taxation. And we got down to where we are, basically through budget cuts pertaining to mostly capital. But before we do that, we don't take budget cuts lightly, because we have to go through and evaluate each of those items to determine and prioritize whether it is something that can wait until next year, whether we can put it on the shelf and not do it at all, or if there's another possible way of undertaking that project. So in the 2014 budget, we had an overall spending increase of 2.1%. That equates to $91,242. Our total expenses this year are budgeted at $12,521,000. $4,430,000 is raised from taxation, and that is further split down by $3,141,000 raised from the base rate and $1,283,000 raised from area rating. We also have $5,650 raised from flat rate street lighting. And as you know, water and sewer services have no effect on the tax rate, as they are fully funded by user fees. I know that most of you are familiar with the special area rates, but I did want to go through those just very quickly. So in Wingham, the area rating pertains to the Wingham Police and street lighting, and that is $1,071,000. In Blythe, it's $129,452 for OPP policing and street lighting. And East Wallinosh, we have $82,725, which is for OPP policing. Also, as part of our tax levy process, we have to adopt the BIA levies by motion. The Blythe VIA has not passed their budget at this time. I believe it's to be passed at their AGM, which is later this month. And the Wingham VIA at last, on March the 13th, passed their budget, and copies of the VIA budget is on your council desk, so we will need a separate motion by council to adopt the Wingham VIA levy. At the last meeting, we talked about a number of additions that were approved by council, but they weren't added into that version since they were brought forward that night. So I just want to go over all of those items with you. They have no impact on the 2.1%, but we had found various ways to be able to still undertake these projects and not change the 2.1. So as I said earlier, we were able to add the 90,000 repairs for the complex roof back in, and that was an increase from $30,000. The budget version that you were looking at that time, which was I think budget version 2 or 3, I'm not sure how many versions you have now had. I think you've got about 6 or 8.
Yep.
Anyway, in this version that we're looking at now, we've added $60,000 from reserve to make that total roof repair cost at $90,000. For the fire department, they're taking out of reserves $18,000 to purchase an off-road response unit. For Industry Connects, we had $5,000 in the budget as an expense and revenue for that particular project. And if you have any questions about that, you can speak to Connie, but that has no effect on the Township of North Huron. We're simply taking our turn acting as host for that particular program.
Excuse me.
Yes.
It should be 2,500. What's 25,000?
It's 25,000.
25,000?
Yeah.
For the whole thing.
Yeah, for the whole
Okay.
thing. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Just checking.
Yeah. So that $25,000 is not our money, and it's not taxpayers' money. That money comes with that program. And so as I said, we're simply just taking our turn acting as the host for that, and it will be hosted in one of the North Huron facilities. So we have to write the checks, but that committee forwarded the money on to us, and then once we host the event, then we forward it on to the next host who takes a turn the next year. So as I said, you'll see it in the budget, but it has no effect on North Huron. So just wanted to clarify that.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
Last time also we talked about the daycare software, and the daycare has getting that up and running, and that was funded by the county, so that was $3,100 that we were able to receive from the county as a generous contribution towards that. At the Olympia and Blythe, again, we received a very generous donation coupled with the trade-in and a transfer from reserve, so we were actually able to proceed with that new Olympia in Blythe, and it's actually been delivered. For the source water protection grant, you've heard a lot of talk about source water protection around the council chambers, and so we have that added to the water department, and it's $35,160. Again, it has no effect on our water budget in that grant money came completely from outside resources and will it be expended as well. Council had asked at the last meeting that we increase council contingency from $6,000 to $10,000. As you know, historically, each month almost we have a new request or something comes up that we didn't know at budget time, and so we need to be able to deal with those issues on a one-off basis. We had a small reduction in the physician recruitment amount, so that was worked into the budget. And also we distributed the market study by department, and so that was spread out. That $61,000 was on a one line in the budget, but of course it's across the whole municipality throughout every department, so we have actually redistributed that, and you'll see differences in the wages and the benefits to accommodate that. The Red Grant, the Alice Munro funding, and Industry Connects have also all been separated out to show as different lines, and so those can easily be identified. Later on, we'll also talk a little bit more about those projects in a bit more detail. Any of the offsets that we've had to make were settled by the transfer to reserves, which is also in our budget this year, of $85,603. So at this point, that is also unmarked for, hopefully for some asset management initiatives, but things come up, so that is one avenue that we may be able to access if necessary. Just to go over a few of the 2014 highlights, a 1% increase only generates $43,000. So when we're talking about that we had a 2.1% increase, that's where that $92,000 came from. So based on an average assessment for a residential property assessed at $151,500, Wingham would actually see a decrease of $22.79. Blythe would see an increase of $41.72, and East Wawanosh $42.71. Our total wages and benefits makes up about 44% of our total budget and is our biggest expense due to the fact that we are a service provider. This varies by department and by the number of full-time and part-time staff, and that varies from season to season. So our total wages and benefits for 2014 is estimated at $5,486,000. And we have an average of 51 full-time staff and 55 part-time staff, but again, that varies from pay to pay depending on the season. One of the things that we're excited about this year is the West Cass Complex loan being paid off, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about that in a few minutes. And also we have total capital spending this year of $1,588,940. So here's just a few of those highlights for those capital items, and I've maybe mentioned some of them before, but we have the used fire aerial truck and the off-road vehicle that's going to be purchased for fire. We have the tar and chip that's going to take place on Reed Road. We have the combo vac truck for the sewer department. And I've mentioned to you about the complex roof repairs and squash court renovations. The Blythe well upgrades for the new well site and the environmental assessment will be ongoing for at least a couple of years. We're looking for an asphalt recycler and a used plow truck. The Wingham Police is going to purchase a fingerprint unit, and as we discussed, we had the new Olympia at the Blythe Arena, and we're going to take on some repairs and renovations at the Wingham Library. We have some debt obligations, which I would like to just go over that with you briefly. But at the end of 2013, our total debt was $2,540,000. We'll possibly be looking at some further debt depending on what happens with the 14-19 campaign and the Memorial Hall project. So we have the rink grant, which at the end of 2013, the balance owing there was $229,000. At the EST, we have $1,137,000. That's split 55% to the EST Center and 45% to the Blythe Fire Station. We have the grader balance of $211,000, the fire payouts at $732,000. Some road projects, the balance there is $229,000, and the West Cass Complex, when it comes due in May of 2014, we have a total of $348,192 to be paid off there. So our goal has always been that in May of 2014, that we would have enough money saved up to be able to pay off that $348,000 in cash and have that taken off the taxes. So at this point, there is no effect on the taxes from the complex loan for the Wingham Ward. This will be the first year that that has not been a part of the area rating. So that loan, just to give you a bit of a background, that loan began in 2001, and we intended that it be a 20-year loan, so it wasn't scheduled to be paid off until 2021. So we're well ahead of schedule there. When we first got that loan, it was at 6.2%, and we were actually able to refinance that due to the drop in interest rates in 2008. So it went down to 3.09% at that time. So we're going to use some money from the Westario dividend account to be able to pay that $348, our Knights of Columbus pledge money. And when we went through the refinancing process, it was partway through the year, so we had been collecting at the higher rate for that loan. So we've set all that money aside in order to be able to pay off that $348,000. So, and the best part about that is that it's completely open and there's no penalty to pay that off. So that was one of the goals that we had for sure. And as I mentioned earlier, we have a new agreement with the Knights of Columbus, and they'll continue to pay their pledge over the next few years also. So our total debt payments in a year for this year is $324,683, principal of $223,000, and interest of $101,000. So we'll move on to some sample results. Now this is really tiny there. I apologize. We're trying to fit a lot of information on this one sheet. But basically what that is showing us, that the difference between, these are actual properties in each of the 3 wards. So the first property is a residential property in Wingham, and that increase in assessment pertaining to that property was up over the average of 3.24%. It actually increased in assessment 5.99%. So on that particular property, they would see an increase of $44.81. But however, the second property, which is assessed higher, but less than the 3.24%, would actually see a decrease of $52.78. The Blythe residential property that we're looking at actually stayed exactly the same. So therefore, then that property would see a decrease because the tax rate has gone down, and it would see a decrease of $33.93. For an East Wallinosh property that went up 2.43% in assessment, this is a farmhouse on a farm property, that property would see about $10.60 increase. And the farm portion of that property, as you know, we've seen a huge shift to the farmland starting last year in year 1 of the next 4-year phased-in assessment. So it went up in an assessment increase of 14.41. So the farm portion of that would see an increase of $192.68. So it completely varies from property to property, where the property is and how much of an increase in assessment that the property had. You could see, though, a property that was double that $150,000 average assessment. If it was assessed at $300,000, they could probably see something like about $250 increase over the year. Whereas I said at $151, it varies from $40. Some are, which is close to the average assessment. The whole average assessment, as I said, for 2014 is at 3.24%. So it depends on where your property aligns with that particular rate. We've talked about this many, many times. Why are the taxes so high? It's a constant source of discussion. We're well aware of the causes, and it's the solutions that are extremely difficult and unpopular. But I'm sure most of you are quite aware of the wide range of facilities, programs, and services that North Huron provides, which are usually provided by a much larger municipality. We have low overall taxable assessment, low average assessment, especially on older homes, and we have a relatively low population base. And the geography pertaining to amalgamation, also with a long, narrow strip, gives us some quite unique servicing challenges. If you take a look at the county as a whole, North Huron remains second lowest from the bottom there in total assessment, which is our opportunity to raise taxes. And we were the same last year, the second lowest in the county. Even though we are the second lowest, we still have property changing hands. Properties are still selling, and people are moving into the community. So in 2013, we had a total of 120 properties change hands, and then we also had a number of additional properties under a nominal value. So those were just title cleanup and that sort of thing. So they're not included in the total number of properties. They're in addition to that. So we had a total property sales of over 30 million in 2013, and in 2012 we had 123 properties change hands at sale values totaling over 26 million. So we're quite pleased with that, and we continue to monitor that. Last year, as a proactive step, what we wanted to do was to meet with the real estate people, and we held a meeting with them. And the reason for that is because the real estate people are often our very first contact with new people to the community. And of course, they always get the question, why are the taxes so high? So we basically needed to arm them with the education so that they know what people are paying for and what great services and programs that we have here, and the benefits that the person would see moving to North Huron. So we also are seeing quite a bit of economic activity and public and private investment, and we've been talking about the Wingham Creek residential development in particular, so we're very pleased with all that. So that has been constant for the last 2 years, and we're looking forward to 2014 and 2015, seeing the numbers much the same. The one thing you'll note there, though, for East Wawanosh, and that reflects the change in the shift to farmland that we were speaking of, is that we had 23 properties with sale values of just over $5 million, where in 2013 we only had 28 properties, but those sale values equated to $14 million. So it reflects the large dollars that farmlands are bringing in on a sale price. So just gives you a little bit of perspective as what's happening out there. I've included this slide the last couple of years, and just to give you a bit of an idea, what do we spend your money on? So we have about 49 cost centers that we look after in North Huron, and it's quite a bit more than most other municipalities. Just going to run through those very briefly, but we have council administration, animal control, emergency planning, planning and development. We have the North Huron Fire Department with stations in both Wingham and Blythe, the new EST Center in Blythe, the North Huron Museum. We have sanitary sewer systems in Wingham and Blythe. We have policing with Wingham Police, and then OPP for Blythe and East Wawanosh. We have the 2 cemeteries in Wingham and Blythe. We have the Child Care Center and a number of programs associated with that. We have parks, trails, playgrounds, sports fields in both Wingham and Blythe, and some in Belgrade. We pay into the Maitland Valley Conservation Levy. We have the Wingham Trailer Park and the Blythe Campground. The airport. We provide building official and property standard services. We have the North Huron West Cass Community Complex and the Blythe Arena and Hall. We also contribute to the Belgrade Arena. We have our water systems in Wingham and Blythe and pay our share into the Belgrade system. We look after drainage, community development, or economic development is what we're referring to it. Memorial Hall and meeting room. We offer waste systems, which we operate the landfills in Wingham, East Wawanosh, and we pay our share of Blythe Hullet. We have the Wingham Library. We rent space to provide the Blythe Library. We maintain 167 kilometers of roads, 11 bridges and traffic lights. We make various donations to our partners in the community. We have street lights in Blythe, Wingham, and some in the hamlets. And we have a wide variety of rec programs, fitness programs, aquatic programs, and day camps. So it gives you a bit of a flavor for what goes on a year-to-year basis throughout North Huron. I won't go through all these facilities, but it also just gives you a bit of a snapshot for all the facilities that we have to maintain in order to run all those programs that we were talking about from. So where does the money go? So for the municipal portion, 57.69% stays here in North Huron. We send 26.85% to the County of Huron, our upper tier. And we send 15.46% to our education partners. So that equates for the municipality of $4,425,000. The county, we send them just over $2 million. And the school boards, we send them $1,185,000. Again, the print is small on this slide, but this is a percentage collected by ward. So of every dollar collected, 61.49 cents comes from the Wingham ward, 17.5% from the Blythe ward, and 21.01 cents comes from East Wallanosh. So it just gives you a bit of a flavor for how the assessment is divided out and where the money actually comes from. So when you take a look at the expenses by percentage, and again, I know the print is fairly small up there, but we have general government by expenditure is about 9.92%, protection to person and property 25.37%, transportation 13.91%, environmental 20.37%, health services is less than 1% at 0.84%, social and family is 7.74%, parks and rec 17.74%, culture and planning 4.11%. So our three top expenditures would pertain to protections to persons and property, which would include police and fire, etc. at 25.37%, our environmental services at just over 20%, and parks at rec at 17.74%. Now I didn't include the slide this year, but a lot of those functions actually have offsetting revenue. And so, for example, in the water and sewer, that brings their expenditures on the tax bills down to zero because, as we said, they're totally self-funded. Wanted to go over just some fast facts with you quickly. As I mentioned before, we maintain 167.1 kilometers of road, 32 kilometers of sidewalk. We treated over 1 million cubic meters of wastewater. We pumped 54,000 cubic meters of water. We had 34,767 visits this year to the Aquatic Center, 19,985 visits to the Fitness Center. For the North Huron West Cass Complex, they averaged 67.75 hours of ice usage per week, and Blythe averaged 54 hours of ice usage per week. We had 17,579 participants in our child care programs per year. We issued 77 building permits. We had recycling collected of 620 tons, and the Wingham Police had 1,301 calls and had a 92.3% clearance rate. So that just gives you a very few ideas on what's happening. Public education is really important to us. So we created a tax flyer outlining the dollars by cost center in 2013. And as we said, we had 49 cost centers to review as part of the budget. We had a budget video posted on the website last year, and both of those items, once we get the budget passed, I'm going to update those and again have them on the website for easy access. We're working with both the BIAs. They've been great community partners, and they're very energetic and ambitious people with lots of projects, so we're really pleased to support them. And again, their budgets have to be passed by their boards and executives at their AGMs, and then council is able to pass those as well to include them in the North Huron budget. So we have partnerships with our community groups. Our energy demand management plan is a new initiative that we have to meet this year in July, and our second phase of our asset management plan. As well, just as a note, the municipal election will be on October the 27th of 2014. So we talked to, as I said, throughout the processes, we've talked to a lot of people, and we try to make the information available to them on the website, which is usually some of the easiest access to the information. On to asset management. So asset management is a big focus for us last year, this year, and from every year going forward. The asset management plan is posted on our website. Phase 2 will add approximately another $35 million worth of assets to Phase 1, and that will include our buildings, machinery and equipment, and land improvements. The value for replacement cost for our core assets or our infrastructure assets is over $141 million. And as part of this whole strategy, we need to develop a long-term financing strategy to figure out how we're going to pay for that when the end of life comes for those particular assets. Capital infrastructure is a link to the quality of life for competitiveness and economic development in each of our communities. In order to proceed with asset management, we have to look at capital levies, prioritization, and education. And to do that, we need to use a combination, make good use of debt, users' fees, and pay-as-you-go. So I'm almost finished my presentation, but something that I wanted to show you, which I think you'll find interesting, which ties into asset management, is this short video. It comes from the city of Ryde from Australia, and I think you'll find it interesting, so just bear with me.
We take pride in our role of providing and maintaining local public services for our community. These works are funded through the rates we collect from local residents that then go into providing the services and infrastructure the community needs. While originally the council looked after basic service like roads, footpaths and rubbish removal, the reality is that the scope of services has expanded greatly. These services now include stormwater, street lighting, community buildings, development control, environmental services, health and welfare services, as well as assistance to the people that provide these services. In fact, the council now has over 230 different accountabilities to the community. Whilst the range and scope of services has dramatically increased, the rates that are used to fund this work have been pegged. This means that without state government approval, we cannot charge the community more to provide the additional services. In the interest of providing good government, the council has recently developed a 10-year plan for the community. What we have discovered through this process is that our current model is unsustainable. If we continue down this path, we won't have the money to function. What has become clear is that the expectation that council can provide ever-expanding and diverse services cannot be met. The lack of funds mean that we are unable to undertake new public works such as footpaths, playgrounds or sporting facilities. It also means that we will need to reduce the maintenance of existing infrastructure like roads, drains and playground equipment. This will also impact our ability to provide services to keep the community clean, like lawn mowing, removing graffiti, rubbish removal and repairs. The reduction in maintenance will result in higher insurance costs as well as greater damage to our community's infrastructure. All this means that if we continue down our current path, we will see a gradual decline in the prosperity of our community and our wonderful quality of life will be put at risk. At Ryde Council, our goal is to deliver services that provide a happy and healthy community. We strive to ensure that Ryde continues to be a great place to live, not only for us, but also for our children and our children's children. In order to ensure that we can continue to deliver for our community, there are some tough choices that we need to make. We need to decide what our core activities are and to ensure that we're able to deliver them effectively. We need to address the shortfall in revenue and either greatly reduce the services we provide or increase rates in order to maintain services. We need to be clear on what is essential to provide for our community as opposed to what would be nice to have. More importantly, we need to look beyond the short term and invest for the long-term well-being of our community. These are not easy choices, but they are ones we need to make to ensure the ongoing prosperity of our community. If we can make the hard decisions now and plan effectively, we can make sure that we can continue to take care of our community well into the future. Most importantly, this will allow us to continue to live in a ride where lifestyle and opportunity is at our doorstep.
Okay, so thank you. So even though obviously that is in Australia, you could pretty well substitute the city of Ryde for the township of North Huron, and they face a lot of the same problems that we're going to be facing in the past and looking ahead to the future. So just a bit of an interesting update for you to see how other people are handling some of this. So just to finish up, I wanted to talk to you about a few projects that are underway, but not actually in the budget. So as you know from the last meeting, we were not successful in receiving funding for the Mill Street project in Blythe. We've had a staff meeting to determine how we may be able to proceed with that, and we'll be bringing back a report probably in the next month to council to figure out if we can go ahead with that project. So we would have to do an amendment to the budget, not changing the 2.1% tax spending increase, but that it would still be added in as an expenditure to the 2014 budget. We've been talking about the 14-19 campaign and the reservations at Memorial Hall throughout the rest of 2014. Information and updates on that project will be coming forward to council as well. The town hall renovations, we have paid all that we're going to pay on that, all that we owe. It's just a matter of the weather cooperating so that we can finish that up. The homecoming folks for 2014 have done an absolutely wonderful job getting ready, and they'll be gearing up even more as that fast approaches. So our staff will be helping them out through the summer months until the day of that event. We've had great luck with the Alice Munro Writers and Readers Festival and the Labor Market Partnership. At this time, we're not actually sure what that total cost of that Labor Market Partnership is going to be, and we should be hearing back any day. However, regardless of what the total cost is, North Huron has committed their $20,000 in that, so there won't be effect on the budget any greater than the $20,000 that's already in there. It's just a matter that if we are acting and hosting that whole project, that all the expenses would have to run through our accounting system. So we would have to make adjustments for that. Also, the RED application, the industrial land strategy, whether that was going to be hosted by us or by Morris Turnberry, and I think if that been decided at this point, Gary, or maybe not yet, some of that
Sorry,
would be. The industrial land strategy, we have the $25,000 for our share for the RED application, but either the whole project has to run through one municipality or another, so we may see an amendment for that for the total cost. It won't affect our commitment of the $25,000. Is that correct? Yes. Also, Kelly and the fellas out in the cemeteries will be taking a look at some cemetery improvements and bringing a report back, hopefully sometime this spring as well, for some various activities that they would like to undertake out there. So that in a nutshell gives you a synopsis of what is happening for 2014. So we really want to hear from you and keep in touch and find ways to give you better education and more information and as up to date as possible. So we use the website, we use public meetings. At any time, if you have any questions or comments, you're certainly welcome to email me. My email address is up here. You can reach me by phone. My extension is 26. I also have some business cards here if anybody is interested in those. So I would certainly like to thank council and staff for all the hard work and long meetings and some of the extra gray hair that we have because of this year's budget, but that's the way it goes. So would anyone from council like to pass on any comments or questions before I ask if there's any further questions from the floor?
Well, on behalf of council, a very big thank you to you and staff for all the work that you put in, following through the what-if questions and putting it in a very easy-to-understand format. Thank you very much.
You're certainly welcome.
Tony?
I'd like to speak to it. I'd like to say this hasn't been a one-year journey for me anyway. It's been a 4-year journey, and this will be my final budget sitting at this chair. I want to thank everyone, council and especially staff, for putting up with my stubborn determination, shall we call it. We have come a long ways, and in this budget I see infrastructure. I see everything moving in the direction we are moving in. I've actually talked to some department heads in the last few weeks, and there are things that I've been eating at for a long time, and they're telling me those will be in the next budget, which makes me very happy. It's all about organizing and knowing where to spend it and how to use it. And it has been a tough 4 years. And I'm very pleased with this budget and hope that staff will continue and council will continue. I just want to say thank you to everybody, especially Patricia. We have fought well together, but it's been fantastic. You have come to the side that I wanted. The $129,000 savings in the fitness center and the different things we've talked about. I especially appreciate you still talking to me after motions put against me that I could not speak to you, and we came through as a team. And I want to thank the team for this 4 years.
Anyone else have any other comments? So I'd like to, I want to go back to the folks here. So if does anyone from the floor, maybe I'll stand over here for a few minutes. So does anyone have any questions then from the budget or ways in which you would like to pass on your comments to us? Does anybody have any ideas or comments that you would like to pass on from the 2014 budget?
I don't know if it has to do with the budget, but if you're paying so much for employees for Wingham, then why aren't our sidewalks being done? I just don't understand. Wingham had $1 million for paying you guys and all the employees of Wingham. But I live on a busy street. Sidewalks used to be done. One person complained, which I don't think he should have had the whole right, because his front door doesn't face that road. And when there's a funeral, it is no longer it's a one-way street. You can't get out. There's so many cars, this and that. They don't even plow it back far enough to get close to the sidewalk. We're 10 feet away from the sidewalk on either side. But you're paying these guys so much money, why isn't it not being done? I see other streets, at least one side, and where it's needed, it's not being done at all. My mom backs into somebody else's laneway to get out of her laneway because and they block the walkway so you can't even get out of your own house. They're so close to the actual laneway with the parking that she can't even turn the car. It's an old woman, mind you, which doesn't make a good scenario either. But if somebody's in the laneway behind, she can't get out. And there is just not enough room on that street to do anything. I wanted to take pictures. I was telling Gary there that I wanted to send him a video. And it's an everyday thing because the people that live or work here park on that street, on Edward Street. From here down, it's both sides. From here down, they only park on one side. And this is the narrower side of the whole street than this side. You can park both sides from Patrick Street over, sorry. From Patrick Street over, you can park on both sides of the street and you still have a 2-lane highway, or road, whatever you want to call it. You park from Patrick Street to Alfred Street and you've lost 10 feet. Even the sidewalks, you go like this and then, oh, it's way over here. Like, and it's the busiest street. When there's a funeral, they don't use the parking lot. Some people do. They park on the street. They want to be as close to their loved ones that passed or whatever, which is understandable. But the people that live there, it sucks.
For sure, I can get Kelly to comment on that, but of course with this winter and the amount of snowfall, it certainly had more challenges.
This was
than
even
what-
last year too, where there was no snow, as much snow. One person complained, and he, actually, his front door is Patrick Street. He complained, and all of Edward Street no longer got plowed. And I'm not, are you kidding
We're
me?
repeating ourselves on this.
It's been a big concern for sure.
It is a concern.
It is, because there's a business there. It's not like it's just public residence. It's a business that's there, and there's a lot of traffic. When somebody dies, there's a lot of traffic in that corner, and I live in that corner.
That's a particular topic, and that if you would like to put a deputation together to come before council on that subject, in case there's other questions on other parts of the budget, stick to the budget right now.
Well, it is part of the budget. You're
It's
paying-
part, and it's only part, and you've had 5 minutes so far, so that
Maybe you could talk to Kelly at
The-
some point.
Sure, I can.
talk to Kelly, and if
We
you
won't take
want
the
to
time.
bring other things back, bring it back as a deputation to council.
So I have to write it down, or can I say it verbally on a video?
If you want to put it into a video, that would be
Yeah.
okay as a deputation.
Thanks for your comments. Is there any other comments?
Police budget for Wingham, why don't they drop the Wingham police and just go with OPP costing and save a shit pile of money for the taxpayers?
Back in 2000, when the amalgamation was going through, the restructuring order actually said that the Wingham Police Force was to be disbanded. So we actually proceeded with restructuring on that basis, that there would be no Wingham Police Force. However, one of the steps in order to enact that is that you have to have an OCOPS hearing. And that is a civilian board with an arm of the Ministry of the Solicitor General. So when the OCOPS hearing came, which was in this room, this whole place and out the hall and the whole town hall was full of citizens from Wingham demanding that the Wingham Police Force stay intact, even though it was going to cost more money. They wanted the 24/7 policing coverage and the extra service that they felt they required for Wingham. So it was clearly laid out to them at that time that it was going to be more costs, and that was their decision at that time to do that. And then after that, what happened was not only then was the police force kept intact, they came out with a new set of regulations and standards that the police station had to be brought up to code. So then we were also forced to make the renovations to the police station as well. So the people chose at that time to have the Wingham Police Force stay intact because they wanted that service and they were willing to pay for it. But you're exactly right, that's...
Well, just like the video you showed at the end, there's gonna be some tough things that's gonna have to be done.
absolutely.
So you wanna save money, get rid of the Wingham police, bring in the OPP, you're gonna save $500,000 easily every year. And
You never see the Wingham Police around anyway, once in a while.
and that was 12 years ago, by the way, that this pop meeting happened, or whatever you wanna call it, it was 12 years ago.
Right, you would still have to go through all that again.
In order to disband the Wingham Police, and I've talked to the OPP about it, and also some of the people up high, we cannot reduce the level of service that Wingham receives now if we go to OPP. So if we do go to OPP, we still have to provide the same number of officers for the same coverage.
Like, I know
But
the
a lot
police
cheaper.
station's there, but.
No, actually, it wouldn't be.
Actually, it would be. It would be.
Salary ranges, OPP for the same hours are more expensive than the Wingham Police.
No, that's what you want to tell
Not with
people.
this.
No, no.
We're paying 10 times more
Um,
for the town cops than we are for the OPPs of Blythe and East Palmer.
But it's
What-
total.
That it's the service level in Blythe and East Wawanach.
They don't get
You can
service
have
with
a
OPP.
police car, and it's on the basis of need. If it's just theft, they will get a theft report written up eventually for us. But for the same number of hours of patrol and everything, that it is very similar in cost.
Now you're saying it's
Actually,
very
the
similar.
OPP with the raises that they are getting will be considerably more expensive on the salary grid than what Wingham Police are right now.
So for 8, so the rate that, so you're gonna get rid of the police chief, you're gonna bring a staff sergeant, it's gonna, the rate for the staff sergeant is a hell of a lot cheaper than the police chief. Then you have the second guy in command, it's gonna be a lot cheaper. Then you have 6 lackeys going around driving around cars, it's gonna be cheaper rates for them than what we're getting for the OPP. So again, you're gonna be saving money, but, you know, you got your thing, you're gonna say what
We
you wanna
have
say.
had reviews and reports done on the possibility of changing the policing many different ways. That I'm not sure if I know how to bring a number of those studies and reports together that actually, for what service level that we would have to do with the OPP, and the commissioner for the Huron County Detachment basically has said that what we have is a cheaper route than what they could give us if we went all to OPP coverage.
Sure it's not.
Okay, are there any further
That's it.
questions then? Would anyone else? Trevor?
Just a comment. There's difficult decisions made every day that have to be made regardless of the good decision or the bad decision. The staff has done, to me, a job that is not well liked in any way, shape, or form. Doesn't matter what they put to the number, it's going to be, somebody's going to interpret one way as versus the other. The residents and the ratepayers need to understand the information provided and allow them to absorb the information and provide feedback, good and bad. But it's got to be respectful feedback. And understand the responsibility of, it's not easy to manage a $12 million, and priorities change and priorities are massive. The biggest concern that I have, and from looking at this budget, is we're putting back into infrastructure. We're putting back in. We're not just, it's not operating expenses. It's capital money that you're putting into the municipality. And that should be the good news story. Like I said, like if there's a news story that should come out of this, paying off the West Cass Community Complex 14 years or whatever before it was actually due, 7 years, that's a news story to me in North Huron. Regardless of what OPP went, that is a conversation that could go on for another 10 years. It was 10 years ago we had it. Today, that's the news story. Because that's important.
Thank you, Trevor.
Thank you, Trevor.
Pauline?
Colleen?
I did not catch the overall tax increase.
It's 2.1% increase in spending. Like the tax rates go down because the assessment has gone up, and then you factor in the extra $92,000 that we're spending. That's what it equates to. But each ward is different again because we have all the area rating as well. Okay, Brock, sorry.
I just want to make a comment. I don't want to reintroduce a topic that we've spent a lot of time on, but the citizen survey that we did in 2013, it was overwhelmingly the view of Wingham people that the Wingham Police Force should be retained. Overwhelming. Hardly anybody in Wingham mentioned that they should go to OPP. There were a few in other communities that thought that they should do away with the OPP, but so it's a recent vote that they've had, and they were overwhelmingly in favor of retaining the police despite the cost.
Okay,
Danny?
is there anything good? Oh, sorry, Danny.
The OPP costing, that's based on the current model, right, not the proposed one?
That's correct.
When would the proposed one come into effect if it is approved?
We were told with our meetings with our contacts at OPP that we would receive our first estimates in August of 2014 for the new model for 2015 to give us enough opportunity to plan and prepare ahead of time for those. But based on those preliminary conversations that we've had, it was looking at about a $97,000 increase. I think our cost this year is about $218,000 for Blythe and East Waminash, and that was one of the proposed figures was up about $97,000. Now, until we get those actual documents, though, it could change.
And this is maybe kind of forecasting, but to go along with the idea of the police force, would Wingham be one of the sites that would, if it were on the OPP, increase or decrease due to this? If anybody has thought about that or asked that question?
Well, the first step,
Talk to her.
yeah, you'd have to, as I said, we can't look at that without all this hearing process again anyway. So, I mean, there would be an awful lot of work involved with all that process to find out if it's even possible. We, as I said before, we assumed that the force was going to be disbanded when we were working through amalgamation. We weren't taking that into account, that we would have to make, arrangements for that. So, but that's the way it turned out, and that's what the people wanted. Okay, thank you.
Well,
Gary,
just a
sorry,
couple
yeah.
comments, Don. That's a great presentation. Thanks very much for that. And thanks for managing and leading the budget process once again. So thank you. Just a couple comments. I think it's noteworthy that for the last several years, council has really held the line on large tax increases, when I think we could certainly justify levying large tax increases given capital priorities and community needs and so on. But I think this is the third year in a row that council has passed or hopefully has passed a tax increase that would be consistent with inflation, which I think is quite remarkable given the challenges that we're facing. The second point is that there was an interesting article in the Saturday Globe and Mail talking about communities. What do people see as important in terms of how they define a livable community? And there was a Gallup poll survey that was conducted, and quality of life was seen as the most important factor for people in determining whether they have a livable community. And I think all of us in this room would say that we have a quality of life in North Huron that's second to none. And so, yes, our taxes may be a little higher than some other communities, but I think we can speak to the quality of life that we enjoy here. And that works to our favor, not just for our current residents, but also for future residents and future economic development. I guess the third point is that you talked about the increased economic activity that we're seeing. I just wanted to highlight that again, that, and Connie can back me up on this, and Dave Black and others, that we're getting a lot of calls and queries from residents, but also people from outside North Huron who are looking at North Huron as a place to invest. But it's not just the calls and inquiries. We are actually seeing multi-million-dollar investments, both private and public, throughout North Huron. We've seen that in the last couple of years. We're going to see more over the next couple of years. We see Dollarama make an investment in our community. We see private individuals make investments in the village of Blythe. These are all positive things that will continue to generate more interest and more activity throughout the township. So I think that the key point there is, yes, maybe our taxes are a little bit higher, but it's not deterring private investment throughout North Huron. I think that's worth noting.
Certainly, and I think the property sales slides that we looked at, Gary, speak to that as well, because certainly very, very fortunate with all the activities and programs and services going on in North Huron. And I mean, you look here, compare the main street and all the services compared to some of the other municipalities that are really struggling to make ends meet as well. So as Trevor pointed out, we're still able to invest in infrastructure, and that's going to be our main focus over the next couple of years with our asset management plan to guide us down that road to make accurate decisions and prioritize. So I think we're very fortunate. So again, I appreciate everyone's hard work this year. Thank you very much. And I'm hoping that council will entertain a motion to pass this budget as presented. Thank you everyone from the public for listening through all of it again.
Do we have that motion available? And that's to pass the current budget?
Yes.
Seconder? Callahan seconds. I think we've discussed a lot of stuff, so all in favor? Carried.
I also have the separate motion for the Wingham BIA, please, and then
For
to adopt
approve their budget.
Yes, please.
Bailey and Gordon? All in favor? Carried. Okay. Moving to business arising from previous meetings.
Can I request we defer this one for the West Terrio until we have a full council sitting? Two members missing.
That we will, timelines will allow us to go to the first meeting in
Yes.
April.
Yes.
That's consensus? Or,
May I speak?
yes.
Okay, I would make a motion that that Reeve Vincent attend the first, or the Wisteria Board of Directors, the first Board of Directors meeting in April, I believe it is, and that we circulate and ask for people to submit a resume to participate on the Board of Directors of Wisteria. And I know that we have 2 or 3 people in the community that are interested.
We have two motions on the floor.
You were making,
Yeah. And he's, Ray seconded it, and he started a motion.
There's a motion from Councilor Bailey to
okay.
defer this. Second by Councilor Howell.
Can I just mention to Dave,
Go ahead.
that the first meeting we need to go to is we put off to the 16th, so we have the next council meeting to take care of this. There should be a full council. And I'll also put forward the fact that West Terrio is very, very, very important to the Wingham Ward, as it just paid off the complex with the money we're making on it. So I think it's very important that a council sit on that. And my motion's on the floor, I think.
Okay. Do you want to make a motion, Gary?
Yeah, we have a motion from Councilor Bailey that the staff report under business arising from previous minutes be deferred to the April 7th council meeting. That motion has been seconded by Councilor Hallahan.
Yes.
right?
And I guess, understand a little bit, Councillor Campbell was at our last meeting, and he actually made the motion to nominate somebody or second it, so it'd be nice if he was back here, I think.
Well, this is the motion that's on the floor right now. Any further discussion on it? Understand the motion we're talking about, Bob?
Yes, yes.
That this is, that we defer any decision till our next meeting.
Question. This includes the decision of how to go about selecting or appointing the member. Is that understood properly?
Yes.
Okay, those in favor? Carried. Okay, well,
No, I'll withdraw.
that's what's wrong. Okay,
Just on that, just to follow up what Deputy Reeve said, there are a couple of individuals, a couple of Wingham residents who have expressed interest in putting their name forward to sit as North Huron's representative on the West Ontario Board of Directors. Ultimately, it's council's choice as to how they fill that position. Perhaps we could discuss that at the next council meeting, the process that we would like to undertake to fill that appointment.
I'd like to make just a comment on that. When we read the requirements for that position, it's a very demanding position. And I think we have to, I think this idea of deferring this until another meeting is a good one, because I think we have to develop a process that's going to get us that quality of person who's going to meet those very stringent requirements so that we are well represented on the board.
Can I just speak to it just for a moment?
okay.
I believe it should be, personally, I believe it should be a council member or the reeve. It is a very important position, and yes, there is some demand on it. But again, financially speaking, it's one of the peaks that we have on this council where money's coming in all the time, and I'd hate to see it get thrown away or information not get directly back to council on, per se, sale of part of the company that we own. We are voted in to do this job. Now, I know, Gary, you put your name forward, but I'm going to back that off. I would personally rather have a member of council taking that position. And I don't think I'm asking too much because of the fantastic thing that's just happened with the money that we just paid off the loan that could take us another 20 years. And we just need to be on top of that one. And there's too many things that are filtering out around here that never seem to come back to the table. But if you're on top of that one, that's one of your major projects, especially for the Wingham Ward. It's very important. So I'm just not sure I want to dilly-dally with 3 or 4 people who would like to be it, and you've got to go through the process, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to put that out there, give you gentlemen 2 weeks to think about it. But that's where I would come from as the highest polled Wingham councillor, and this is a Wingham Ward situation. Thank you.
Okay, moving forward, development reports, nothing that has changed in health and safety, so Director of Corporate Services, Deputy Clerk. Are you doing the CBO report?
No, I think I'll let the CBO do his report.
Okay. Dave, you have to do your own report.
Oh, she's not letting me go for it. That's okay. You should have my report in your package.
Yes.
All right, so the first, the information dealing with building permits is fairly straightforward. It's been quiet since November of 2013. However, Gary's mentioned there's been a number of inquiries with regards to some possible renovations of larger projects this year again. So hopefully they'll come forward. Unfortunately, the agricultural business has not been, that field has not been very busy yet, so I don't know what the the farmers are doing with their corn money. We're waiting for the bushel to go up, I guess. But, so that was, under section 1, the building is fairly straightforward. The other item is this was the second draft of telecommunication towers and antenna system protocol. Again, this is along the same format as the wind turbine policy, is to get the people that are developing these projects to come through our door and then follow a certain protocol and policy. Now, I did receive an email from Brock and, with regards to some grammar issues that I went through the document again this morning, Brock, and thank you very much. And I don't know if my eyes were just fuzzy or my spell check was not on. Couldn't have been on. So those revisions were made, and I think you should have the updated package.
Yeah, it's here.
Policy? Okay, good. So those revisions were made and I went through that. Brock also had a couple other items highlighted with regards to some sentences. So I went back through the document that I was referencing, which was the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, and took a look at the two sentences that you were looking at, Brock. And they're the very same wording, and I did not change that. And, my policy is if I don't have to rewrite a book, I won't rewrite the book, and I just try to get the information in there as best possible. So I didn't make any changes, just due to the fact, because this is, it's not an Alice Munro literature novel, it's more of a technical document, and the people that will read these are based and they've been educated with regards to telecommunication towers and antennas. So the statements that are in there, they know how to interpret the way that those are written. So that's why I didn't make those changes at this time. So that's my reasoning behind those two. And the one was with regards to one of the pages. It's the very same paragraph, and I don't know if the word may was the question, but may is discretionary, so the municipality may also require the proponent based on local conditions. I don't know if that was the wording there or was it the whole paragraph. It's just above 8.3 in the document.
Just above 8.3?
Yeah, it's the one sentence. It's a paragraph that's right under notice for residents within a new proposed cell tower.
It's that heading. The wording is not clear. Notice for residents within of a new proposed cell.
Okay.
Maybe it's or. Within or. I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
Actually, it's the very same wording. Notice for residents within a prescribed distance of a new proposed cell tower information. So, okay.
No,
I know it seems off base, but this is came from a document between the Federation of Canadian Municipalities and the telecommunication business and wireless business.
Well, then it has to be perfect.
Well, I don't know if it's perfect or not, but that's the reason. And the other one was a sentence with regards to the use of guide wires.
Yes, that was just a question on my part. I'm not questioning the statement, but I wonder why they're discouraged, why we're supposed to be discouraging the use of guide wires and cables.
The reason behind that is it depends on the location. If you're aware, there were 2 new antennas just recently installed in the township of East Wanash. One was just off of Donnybrook Line, one is right off London Road. And because they're out in open agricultural spaces, the guide wires are fine because they have lots of room and they can maneuver. If they're in a urban or hamlet situation, well then the guide wires would be discouraged because it would take up too much room and then you'd have to do an engineered pole structure.
Okay.
Okay? And just for your other information, if you go on, I think it's Huntsville's website, they have a picture of a new tower up there, and it's a pine tree on steroids. That's what they call it, because it's on a pole, and it looks like a great big huge pine tree. And that was the caption underneath it, pine tree on steroids. Okay, so I was asking for council to approve the bylaw, I think it's number 17, 2014, for the revised policy for telecommunication towers.
I'll put that motion forward.
I'll second.
Motion forward.
If that's the protocol, Gary, or...
Dave, was
Yeah.
that for the building tenant? You did do them both at once? You asked for a motion for both at once?
No, I just want to deal with the draft bylaw.
Communications? Yeah,
Yeah,
just the telecommunications.
if that was going to be passed tonight, read it first and second time, third time.
As part of the bylaw.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna do it later? Yeah, that's great.
If you're okay with that,
I'm fine. I'm fine with that.
Stick around.
Dave,
I know you do.
Kathy,
If I might, this is probably Dave's last council meeting with us, unless there's something happens that he has to attend the first council meeting in April. Dave will be gone before the second council meeting in April. So Dave has been our chief building official for 9 years, and he worked in our recreation department actually before that. So we wish him well in his next endeavor. For those of you who don't know, he's becoming a building inspector for 2 years in New Zealand. So he's got a great future. I don't know if you want to elaborate on it, Dave? On what you're going to be doing now.
Off the record, right?
Yeah. Just leave us your address.
I'll leave you my email address. This opportunity just happened to come along at our last OBOA convention, and I shouldn't have listened to the guy at lunch. Should have been on the golf course, no, but I did hand my business card in, and since that time, something's happened every 2 weeks. Had the opportunity to go through the process, and because it's in Christchurch, you get the opportunity to do Skype and video presentations, so we went through that, and I was offered the position. And, after probably about a 5-minute discussion with my wife Joan, she said, "Pack the bags."
So it's gonna be winter there, you just get it.
I'm gonna get 2 winters in 1 year. But Kathy, it's short notice, but for me to do this. But I've had a great opportunity working for the township. The first part was as a recreational operator. I left the position of luck to come over here, and I had the opportunity to work there for I think 3 years. And then in December 2004, I had the opportunity to step up. And at that time in 2004, I know the building code was going through a whole number of changes. And one of those changes was training and education to become qualified as a chief building official and as building inspector. Now, if it would have been without the support of Kathy and the CAOs, John Stewart, Chris Nell, and present one, Gary, and Donna to pass my budget, I always had the opportunity to put education and training. In those first 2 or 3 years, it was an expensive endeavor for the township to follow to get me qualified. And I certainly appreciate that, because you've trained me, and I know you're probably sitting here and saying, holy smokes, we've trained him, and now he's leaving us. And, I can't thank you enough for giving me that opportunity to do what I had to do to become qualified and hopefully do the job that I was asked to do to the best of my ability. And that's all I tried to do, was to be honest about it, discuss things with people in this room, and just make sure that I had everything covered the best way I knew how. And hopefully I've done that, and there won't be too many fires burning when I leave. But
we got you covered.
911, no, I have a different one down there. Could be 119 or something. But thank you very much for all your support from staff level, Pat from the rec department. You know, we've had some fun, a few challenges along the way. Kelly, you're the new roads guy. Had a great time with Ralph. Had a pretty good time with you, Don. Water runs downhill, right? I can't say what happens to the other product. It flows uphill sometimes. To David, I know you've only been here for a short time. Thank you for your support. Donna, just keep signing the checks. Do a good job of that. The council members, thank you very much for your support. I know that sometimes you've come in my door and you've asked me some questions. And because the building code is provincial legislation, there's some times that are passed just don't flow nicely. They sometimes bang and they bounce off each other. But in the whole of it, it's been a great experience. I'm going to leave all. Connie, thank you very much. Is there anybody else here? Okay. Joe, I got him down quiet. I'm going to leave Kathy to the last because she's been so good to me and to Joan. So thanks, Kathy. That's it. Better get out of here.
A little dry. Okay, I gotta go. See ya.
Moving forward to water and wastewater. You want to highlight anything, Don, or?
There's a few things. Okay, so all the water and wastewater reports have been all completed and distributed to MOE. They've been posted on the website, so anybody who wishes to review them, comment on them, that's where they are. Yeah, I mentioned they had a failure at the Brussels sewage plant with their sand filter there, and that was kind of unexpected for them. I don't think our filters is in as bad a shape as that, but anyway, when the risk of high flows subside, hopefully the spring will be gentle with us here, and when that subsides, we'll get that out of service, and because that's a pretty major expense to budget for. The frozen water services, one thing that really came to light in that was the ability to actually reach people. Like we did the best we could through all the media we could think of to reach people, and there's still a large number of people that didn't get the message. So one of the things was like Huron Ready, how important that is as a community and for emergency notifications that people register for that. Like when we're so busy, it's you can't be running to 15 different media things to try to get the word out. That Huron Ready is a one-stop shopping for that, and I really wish that a lot more people were registered for it. There's about 50% of the people in the area that we were involved with on the second round of Run Your Taps. So only 50% of the people were registered, and at the end of the day, there's only 20% of the people actually got confirmed that they had received the message. So anyway, I'm going to put out a newsletter here and to notify people that the reports are available on the website, and I'm going to try to encourage people to register for Huron Ready with that newsletter as well. And the last item, we have a part-time admin assistant. Hopefully, what we're doing is trying to groom that position to become ultimately a compliance officer type position. And
so it's been part-time. I'd like to make that into a permanent position because we're going to need to invest fairly heavily in some training for that person. And if it's just a part-time, like a contract type position, I just don't feel comfortable investing in that. So if you would consider making that a permanent position.
Okay, we'll do the first motion, and that will be to accept the report. Hallahan and Vaughn, all in favor? Carried. And a possible second motion is to, you want to, what the wording should be to
I think,
create the position.
I think Don would like council motion to approve the creation of a compliance position in his department, and that would be a permanent part-time position. I think as Don noted, we have had someone in that position working part-time for the last couple of years. As you can appreciate with water and sewer, there's a lot of regulatory requirements, a lot of documentation that needs to be in order legally, and Don needs someone on a part-time basis to help manage that. So part-time, permanent position, that person has been in place the last couple of years. The budget resources are in place for the 2014 budget, but we would like to make this formal arrangement.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Reach and Bailey. Okay, and I will say that I'm in favor of this motion because as a contract position, we have had a very good person at it, and that it isn't like just starting something and guessing on what you're getting. Ronnie?
This person isn't going to New Zealand or... Just thought I'd ask.
Any discussion?
So this is a 22.5-hour
Yes.
permanent position?
Yes. Yeah, and if I might, like, not only will it be compliance, one of the things that is kind of a concern, there's one staff person that actually does the billing, takes care of everything to do with the billing here, and that's another thing that I'd like a backup person to be able to step in should somebody go to New Zealand. And there's also, to do with the asset management plan as well, there's, in our computerized maintenance system, there's quite a number of assets that we need to set up in that to be able to track the costing and that type of thing in the system too. So that's another job that I'm hoping this will help with.
Okay. All in favor? Carried.
That was, unless there's any other questions on the body of the report.
Oh,
No, so it's okay.
okay.
We've moved and accepted.
Okay. Thanks, Don. Moving to point 4, Director of Public Works, the Moncrief Road landfill site report, or East Walnut landfill. Kelly?
Sure, I can speak on that. Reeve, thanks. First off, I'd like to thank Donna for pointing things out on the budget, because that kind of follows with what my report has to say. And for the gallery for saying that we do have to make some hard, tough decisions, and this is one of them that just comes to light right now. So I'm asking council to look at my report and see what I've come up with in costing and the services that are provided by the Moncrief landfill site. versus the Curry Line site. So if there's any questions here.
Wait,
Yeah, I guess, Kelly, when I came here tonight and I told several others I was going to defer this till the next meeting when Councillor Campbell's back, because it isn't his ward, and with due respect, he's got quite a few concerns on it, I know that. And I've had quite a bit of feedback on this. So I'm going to make a motion that we, I have a few questions on the report. I guess this report is from January till November, right?
That's correct.
So that'd be in the wintertime too, so we would have, the report you're giving us would have snow blowing on here too.
Yeah.
So we're not going to be doing that, so that can come out, yeah, okay, come out of this.
But I've also put in the other 4 Saturdays that were included in last summer's
Right.
request to have it
Yeah.
over 2 days per month.
The,
So this is actually a running total of what it cost us to run for the 2013 season at a regular, like 1 day a month up until, like it says in here, the June, July, and August, and September. Those were the extra 4 that you asked to have it open for two Saturdays per month versus the 1 Saturday. So everything is in here.
and now the annual engineer's costs, we have to pay that?
That's not gonna change.
Whether
Yeah,
it's
that's
closed
right.
or open, whether we
That's
use it or
correct.
not, so that
Yeah.
14,341 we have to
That's correct.
pay anyway.
But
Okay.
if you look, I've taken what the expenses were minus the income. I didn't factor in the annual cost for engineering, the insurance, or the taxes. I just wanted everybody to know that that's what it costs us for the landfill site. So you're still running at a net loss of $7,142.01. Like, generating what you brought in for income, what it's cost you for wages.
Yeah, but we still have to pay 14,000 anyway.
Yeah,
Whether it's open
most
or
definitely.
closed. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
But I-
figured in the loss.
I
right?
didn't put it
Total
into the
expenses,
loss.
Okay.
No, I
And
didn't.
so the insurance is what, we pay 1/3 of insurance, and it's gotta be paid whether we have it open or not.
That's correct. I didn't factor that into that as
So
well.
that's, that'll be, so,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna make a motion that we keep it open the same as last year from May until November, the same. Can I,
okay.
yeah.
You had said about possible deferring.
Well, I
until
had thought
Councillor
about deferring it,
Campbell-
but no, I don't think, I think we all know that Jim's had a lot of concerns over it, and I've had a lot of concerns over it too. And what we don't need is people bringing, out East Swan bringing a lot of brush to Blythe to get chipped either, so we don't want that to happen either. So, you know, like, we have to handle that, so it can come into the landfill. So, yeah, that's my motion, I'm putting forward that we do have it open the same as last year.
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
I'd just like to comment,
Go ahead.
well, I've had a number of calls as well. My main reason for taking this is that apparently on the signage, we made a commitment that the site would be opened this spring for the summer. And I think we should not go back on that. I think in the long run, the site should be closed. But I think that we're jumping the gun by welching on the offer that our sign made to have it open this spring. So on that basis, I agree with Ray's motion, and please to second it, that we follow that route.
Dave,
I've had some calls on this as well, some both for and against. And one of the suggestions that was put forward was that we get rid of the bins at the landfill site, because we do have recycle pickup and we do have garbage pickup. And so having the bins there costs us $1,500, plus it costs to get rid of the recycled stuff that's in them. So the to get rid of the bins would be a good thing. The other comment that I had was that the landfill site becomes a meeting place where people gather on the first Saturday of the month to exchange the weather reports and the crop reports and how are the kids and this type of thing. And as I said to that person, when I go to the Reed Road landfill site, it takes me an hour to go and get out of there. Sometimes I run into Bernie there too. So,
And he won't pay my fee.
So, and the other comment that I did get that I thought was probably really worth considering is that we open it one day a year at the start of the year for spring cleanup, and then we close it for the rest of the time.
If I may read. Just to speak to the signage that was put out. As noticed, landfill site will be closed to the public effective December the 1st, 2013. Please direct all waste to landfill located at 86165 Curry Line, Tuesdays and Fridays from 9 till 5 and Saturdays 9 till 2.
So there's no commitment there.
That was the signage that was put out. The notice that went out to the residents was East Wawanosh landfill site will be closed for the winter months of December 2013, January, February, March, and April, as per North Huron Council Resolution, October 21st, 2013. Doesn't say anything about, there was no commitment, it was just that we were closed. But just so it's for the record. And different reports that were made prior to my coming to North Huron. It speaks of 65 residents using the landfill site. 10 of them live closer to Reed Road. So for 408 residents or homes out in East Wawanosh, some hard decisions needed to be made, and this is why I have a report together on request of councilors.
I agree with what you're saying entirely. It's just the sense that everybody that I've talked to felt that there was a commitment or a lack of notice that it was not going to be reopened.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Actually, Kelly, and we can talk about this after, but I have, and we don't need to get into it tonight, but I've heard some suggestions with these people. That talk to them, we can talk about it, maybe you can tweak it a little different or whatever of what could maybe make it a little more.
As you know, I was just asked to
Right.
make the report.
Yes,
I came up
exactly.
with the numbers. These are the numbers. The council makes the decision.
Thank you for your report.
Gary.
Yeah, I think just to follow up on Kelly's comment, we're looking at the landfill and this staff report in the context of a very difficult and challenging fiscal situation. And I guess if you do a cost-benefit analysis on the Moncrief Road landfill site, from a financial perspective, does it make sense to keep it open one day a month over a season? I think the answer reveals itself, but we recognize it's a political discussion and a political decision, and like you, we want to make sure we're providing optimum services for all of our residents. We feel that we have, there is a full-service landfill at Reed Road open to North Huron residents. But anyway, we'll continue to provide information to council so that you can make an informed decision. But we're examining this option from purely a financial perspective. We've been able to contain our costs over the last several years. That has allowed us to take on other priorities and projects like the tar and chip and so on. And these savings could be used for other projects in the rural area, just as an example.
Yeah, I agree on that, Gary. It's from a ratepayer's point of view is why. I mean, there's nothing to be gained as political in this, I don't think. And we got to look here now at our assessment going up in East Wawanosh Ward, and land prices going up. So, you know, they're going to be looking for some extra. Okay, that's
Right.
fine.
one of the things that has impressed me about the people that I've talked to from East Wallinash was that they were quite understanding about the long-term non-viability of that landfill site, that it should be closed, to be realistic. And I talked to them, for example, about the fact that when there's very little refuse going into the place, you're loading far more cover onto it than there is content. And it's a very uneconomical process, and they agree with that. And they're quite agreeable to the long-term closure of the place, but they felt that it shouldn't be closed this year. And I think it's what I'm going to say is maybe unfair, but it seems to me that whenever we cut costs or cut corners, East Wallinash gets the brunt of nothing. There are so many things that economic development projects and all kinds of projects that apply mostly to Wingham or Blythe, and very little of it goes to East Wallinash. So I would like to, just on that basis, I would like to give those folks a break, and for not a huge cost, but in the long run, we'll make a good decision on it.
Okay. Those in favor? Carried.
I would like to make a motion that we remove the rental bins from the East Wallinash site because there is garbage and recycle pickup.
I'll second that.
Discussion?
Meaning, Dave, that they have to put the recycles out?
Yep.
I'm not sure of that, not at this point, because I think I'd like to talk to Kelly on some stuff. With some of these ideas that some of these other people have brought up, and I don't think we're going to get all that done tonight. So.
A couple of the people that I've talked to, I mentioned this idea of taking the bins out, and they were quite agreeable to that. Because they say, well, we put our recycles out the road.
Okay.
The suggestion actually came from Jim Campbell to remove the recycle bins. And he's not here, so.
He mentioned that to me as well as the other person.
We have a motion. Are we ready? All in favor of the motion? Carried.
Yeah.
Thanks, Stuart. Moving to new business, Lions Club of Wingham, the Wingham Homecoming 2014 Parade. Request permission to block off Wingham Street August 2nd, 2014 for the parade.
Oh, do you want me to talk then?
If you want to.
Sure. So, I mean, myself or Connie could speak to this. This is the homecoming parade down Josephine Street. This is a request that we do the request up to Huron County, as well as have the things in place at our end to assist with this road closure for the parade, which is always popular at homecoming. I'm not sure what else to say about it.
All I'm concerned is you're gonna come back to us, right? Give it.
I'll put a motion forward. Do we,
Gordon seconds. There's actually a number of people making applications for floats already, so that there's a number of the families and businesses that are actively involved already. So that
Can I just ask one question?
No,
Okay, sorry.
not in this portion.
Nothing greater, I just wanted to know what homecoming was.
It's civic holiday weekend.
Sure.
Begin first weekend in August.
Not when it was, I just wanted to know. But I can ask her later.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All in favor of the motion? Moving forward to council information and correspondence. Points the councilors want to bring forward? Bernie.
I would make a motion that we support number 4. I believe that is the one from maybe if I recall where we could increase the...
It's the joint and several liability.
Yeah, yeah. After all, we just got hit with another 13,000, so there's that increase. Oh, the real hard, yes. I think that was number 6 as well.
Excuse me. We have already responded to
We have
Mr. Pat
already
Patrick.
did a letter to Randall,
Okay.
but would you want it to go to number 6
I'm fine with that one, too.
through to Amo?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yes.
Switch it to Amo?
Sorry about that, yes.
Rather than 4? Okay.
And
All in favor?
I'd just like to add something else, if I may. There was a suggestion that we should forward this letter of approval to our MPP and various other people in the piece that's written in here. And I would include those, if that's okay with you.
All in favor? Carried. Amo, number 7, Pat, on Bill 69.
Yeah,
Do
so,
you want to comment?
well, yes, I've had a chance to take a look at what this would mean for our municipality, and I think that we should support the objections that AMO has put forward towards this bill. It's really about how, as a municipality, we can negotiate payment with contractors for large projects. And all of the facts that I've been reading about it really put us at a disadvantage for negotiating payments, for having time to ensure work is completed before we issue payments. And so I would really like to have support for number 7 from council to have the AMO recommendations to amend some of the things in Bill 69.
Moving.
I make a motion that we support this and use the format that they've suggested in writing into AMO in support.
I'll second.
Each seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried. Dave?
I'd like to comment on item number 11, where North Huron aquatic staff have been recognized for the first place in earning the MG Griffiths Cup. I think that's a really good kudo for North Huron, and congratulations to the staff at the aquatic center.
Thank you. And I'll pass on our
Absolutely, we'll pass
thank
that
you to
on.
the staff, Pat.
No,
Oh, Brock.
With regard to number 9, the provincial policy statement, we waited a long time for this, and reading some of the promotional stuff, it looks really, really interesting, and they really listen to the rural community. However, I think it's important that we study this very carefully and that we respond to them as they've requested in terms of how we see the new provincial policy statement suiting our circumstances. I downloaded the policy statement itself, plus some of the other documentation that they put, and it looks really, really interesting. I think the test will be in the, maybe the devil will be in the details.
And I will make a comment on number 12. After attending that last year, that I think the essentials of firefighting that a number of the ones took from council and staff. I believe it was Palmerston we went to, was a far more complete course than what was at the Fire Chiefs Convention. But the firefighting portion of the Fire Chiefs Convention I found very interesting last year when I was outfitted with bunker gear and entered the firehouse and helped dismantle a car to show that how the jaws of life work and things like that. So that I think that is a good thing, but there's only 24 a year can get in on that. So that it's something that possibly another year somebody else from the municipality may go and have the experience of doing it.
Just as a point of reference, ESTC is actually investigating if it's possible for us to host a similar venue, a similar event at our venue as well.
Thank you. And is there anything else in that?
I move that we read, order, and file.
Receive, order, and
file.
Receive, read, and file.
Yes, that's whatever.
Seconder? Reach. All in favor? Good. Okay, committee reports, live arena advisory board, there's January and notice of the May meeting. Any questions on the report or anything else you want to add, Brock?
I don't have any comments on it, unless there's a question.
Okay, thank you. Wingham Area Health Professionals Recruitment Committee, the January 13th meeting minutes. Any questions or? Okay, thank you. Moving through to bylaws.
I'd just like to say on the committee reports, there's no EDC committee report on this. It'll be in the next agenda package?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, bylaw number 17, 2014. Pardon me. Being a bylaw to adopt a telecommunications tower and antenna protocol in the township of North Huron. 1, 2, 3. Seconder. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Okay, bylaw number 19, 2014. Being a bylaw to authorize the Reeve clerk to sign on behalf of council an agreement between Her Majesty the Queen and Right of Ontario as represented by the Minister of Rural Affairs and the Corporation of the Township of North Huron. Connie, are you ready to speak to that?
Sure, if you'd like me to.
Please.
Okay. We are hoping to start what we've been calling a community repatriation program. What the intent of this project is to look at some of the projects that we have done in the past the business retention and expansion, the residence survey, also tying in the Make Here and Home immigration strategy, as well as the recently released skills gap analysis that was done for the 4 counties, and really trying to pinpoint how we can entice or encourage people to reconsider Huron as home when they're looking to build their careers or grow their families. So that's what we're looking to do.
Questions or comments from council? Brock?
So is this a county-wide project, or is it
At
just
this
ours?
point in time, it's North Huron creating a template to be used for your rural communities.
I'll put a motion forward. The, block of the other.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried. Okay, council reports and inquiries. Councilor Bailey.
I was just wondering when we're going to see the envelopes for the next election, and what's in the envelopes. I hope we're not waiting till a couple weeks before, because I think we need to talk about what's on the outside of the envelope, like, hey, don't put this on the floor of the
Post office.
I thought you said
Post office.
I thought you said you're not running again in the council.
I didn't say that, I said when you're sitting in the seat. Everything else is up in the air.
We'll definitely bring those forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave.
Back a few months ago, I asked that a recommendation be sent to the county with regards to the speed limit on County Road 25 west of County Road 4 in Blythe, and that the speed limit be reduced from 90K down to 50. And I'm going to go one step farther, and I'll make a motion that the speed limit on County Road 25, 50 meters west of the Thresher's Lane to County Road 4 be reduced to 50 kilometers per hour. $50 meters west of the Thresher's Lane to County Road 4. Look puzzled.
I'll second that.
Discussion?
Sorry,
Go
clarify,
ahead.
50 meters west of...
50 meters west of Thresher's Lane.
Threshers.
Or should it be east?
No, west. It will be at the start of
Going
the
towards
build-up on North Huron's side. Brock?
Just for clarification, now the speed limit is 90 right up to the stop sign.
Right up to the stop
Which
sign.
really doesn't make any sense.
So what was your request before?
The same,
Not this one, the same one?
yep,
Okay.
but nothing has happened.
It'll be entirely up to the county, they'll do what they want to do.
I already talked to the county about
Yeah.
that.
They'll
I
decide
spoke to
that.
the county about that, and they told me that you would need a delegation to go and present at county council and petition for that, I guess,
They'll
to
decide.
see if you would be able to do that.
Dave?
For clarification, when we asked before, we asked for too much. We asked that a flashing light be put on top of the stop sign as well. So this is just a simple speed reduction in that area. And from the time when I sat on county council, it was dealt with several times without a delegation appearing in front of county council. So I think that the request to have a delegation is unreasonable and unfair.
Ready for the question?
Kelly,
Oh, Kelly.
Oh, I can speak with Mike Alcock again and find out if that is something that can be done without going to county council. He was the
Well, put it this way, we can do it too. Because I saw it too as well. Those in favor of the motion? Carried. Any other points from council on inquiries? Ray?
I do, yeah. I wasn't at the meeting when it was talking about the coyotes in Blythe, and they thought it was a dog, but I had a ratepayer in Blythe come to me, and she claims it's a coyote, okay, so, but anyway, tearing in her garbage, and she approached what she should do, and they said, put your garbage in the house. Or in the freezer.
That was me.
And
That was me.
so, if a coyote comes to Blythe, they think it's a coyote, and we're not supposed to phone here, right? That's coyote, is that true?
We really don't have the means of looking after coyotes. They're wild animals, and you should be calling the Ministry of Natural Resources.
Okay, so there's a number for that then.
And we have been handling.
You have the number? Okay, I'll get them to.
And she has been informed of that.
And the dog, we call here, or do we just call straight to Jim? Right.
Either, we look after her.
Okay, okay, thanks.
All for council inquiries? Okay, moving to clerk administrator's report.
Okay, thank you, Reeve. I wanted to share my time with David and Pat. David, could you introduce yourself?
Sure. My first comment to Gary earlier was that last council meeting you came here at 8:45 with my February report and the meeting was already adjourned. So tonight I get here at 7:30 and at 9:15 we're still going strong. Anyway, I do have the February FDNH report. I know there's a request in the gallery for access to that as well, so I've got some copies here. I'll set out for the gallery and address if you'd like at the end. As a general statement, this year is exceptionally busy for our fire department, and that's carried on into March. We are averaging 2 fire calls every 3 days, which is far busier than we've historically been, and it's across all genres of calls, from car accidents to carbon monoxide, to natural gas leaks, to structure fires. But the one thing in the February report that I do want to draw your attention to, and it's more poignant because of the 3 people that died last night in Brampton, is in the month of February, FDNH had 3 carbon monoxide alarm calls where there actually was carbon monoxide present in the home. And we can't stress enough the importance of having a CO detector. We're getting people inquiring what the new law is going to require. As of yet, the Fire Marshal's office and the province haven't specified what type of carbon monoxide alarm protection homes are going to have or should have. But I would strongly encourage, and for the press, if you wouldn't mind picking up on this, I would strongly encourage that if you don't have any carbon monoxide alarm at all, get one, and then when the legislation comes out, if you need more than one, get more than one. But having none is not an option. And 3 calls in a short month is fairly significant. And like I say, all 3 of those were homes where there was CO present. Second thing you'll notice that our truck from Florida arrived in Ayr, Cambridge, at the end of February. We've had our mechanical captains and Deputy Chief Hodgkinson down to have a look at it and go over things, and along with the Darch fire apparatus, people were really impressed. The more we look at it, the value we're getting out of this piece of equipment. The one unfortunate thing is it came with a really, really nice radio system, fire radio system with the truck, and we thought that was pretty cool. Far better than we would actually go out and buy on our own if we're looking for a radio system, but unfortunately we found out that it's totally not compatible with what we use here for radios. St. Patrick's Day, so Murphy's Law. So the unfortunate part of that is that it's going to mean we have to buy a radio system for the truck. Flip side is in this year's capital transfers, we had budgeted for a fire pack for our off-road vehicle. Darch Fire, who we've worked with on the aerial, was able to secure with us a demonstrator unit, and the savings from the demonstrator unit coincidentally are enough to pay for the cost of the radio. So the net impact is that although we don't get the really nice radio anymore, the net impact is $0 compliments of their efforts to find us a value proposition on the fire pack. You will also notice, and the other thing I'll sort of draw attention to in the report is that we continue to work with Morris Turnberry on public education opportunities and endeavors, and we're very confident that as we get this, get our stuff all put together and properly set up, that we're going to have very effective and very productive public education programs for the people in this area late this spring and certainly going into next school year. One other note, and this is separate from the fire report, is part of my job description is also the community emergency management coordinator's position. Prior to last week when I was on holidays, we had received notification from the Maitland Valley Conservation Authority that the Maitland River area has 1982 levels of snow, which 1982 was a year of severe flooding. And the only catch is that we've got about the same level of snow. The snow we have has got twice as much moisture as the snow of 1982. To that end, Morris Turnberry and North Huron are meeting tomorrow morning with the Maitland Valley Conservation Authority to get a risk profile from them, because they have the resources to show us what the potential impact is. And they're also going to update, based on the recent weather and the forecast weather coming up, what this may look like. And so just out there as a cautionary note that it's been a long winter. On the fire side of things, it's been long for Kelly and the roads crews, for Don and the water people. And this may all bear fruit in the form of significant flooding this spring if the weather conditions do not cooperate. I don't have any more information at this point in time. For the sake of the press, when we're concluded tomorrow's meeting, I'll find out the proper contact from Maitland Valley Conservation Authority, as they are the experts on this. And it might be something that you want to get for your news publications and newscasts. Because while I don't really recall 1982, I gather it's fairly significant. And the fact that it's 1982 times twice as much moisture content would indicate this is potentially a significant event. And the sooner we get people alerted to the possibility and the potential, I think the better prepared we will all be. So, copies of my report for the gallery and the press open by the budget there. And open if anybody has any questions.
So Dave, 82 is really bad.
I don't have a clue. But
I'm telling you. But listen, no, the question I had though was, it's a really nice radio. Then we are going to put that on Kijiji, or there's a fireman's magazine.
I want to get something out of it.
Thank you.
No, honest, I expect to get something out of it. It is 12 years old, so it won't generate top dollar price, but it's got to have some value. And we just wish it would stay in the truck and work for us.
Thanks.
Hi, yes, I just wanted to share some of the good news and stats that we've enjoyed during the March break. So, and all really began the Thursday. So last week was March break for all the kids. If you don't have kids and didn't know that, they've all been out of school. And so it started really the Thursday before that. We enjoyed 600 students from 4 different schools came for skates and swims on the Thursday before the PA day, which led into the Friday of March break. On that PA day, we had our own programs, our own PA day activities, plus we had the Clinton daycare there for swimming and skating and lunch. We also had the Listowel day camp there for swimming. We had 111 kids in the pool that day, and a very large group out for the PA day skate. So then on the Sunday leading into March break, we hosted 25 air cadets from Brussels. They had fitness, squash, swimming, and a pizza party while they were there at the complex. During March break, which was the Monday through to the Friday, our day camps were full to capacity. We had 519 swimmers enjoying the afternoon swims. We had great numbers at our PA day skates. On Tuesday, the Minto Day Camp was here for a private pool swim. On Wednesday, it was crazy. There was 100 kids in a road hockey tournament outside. We finally got them out of the building, and the skating club showed up for their skating carnival. We cleaned up after them, and the Ironmen marched in and had over 700 people watching their game. So it was a great day to have lots of activity. On the Thursday of March break, 80 Girl Guides were there for swimming, skating, and a pizza lunch. Then on the weekend, we had the Junior C Ironman final game. Capacity exceeded expectations. We had 1,000 tickets. We had to turn people away. It was so full. It was an exciting game, and if anyone hasn't heard, they won, and they're moving on, and they have their next 4 games scheduled. So we're all excited about that. This is all going on. We had regular activities going on. The fitness center had, over that week, 517 visits, 42 personal training appointments, and 128 people participate in fitness classes, and 33 kids in child mining. So it just goes on and on. Last week was great. It was wonderful to see the usage at the facility. And we also decided to launch the Rec and Leisure Guide the Friday leading into that week. So the phone has been ringing off the hook, registering for our spring and summer. So we're excited about the programs we have coming up. And I can't say enough about the staff and everybody, all the volunteers that put on these programs, and the great work all the staff did to keep that building clean, run these programs, all the planning that goes into doing all of that. So I really want to just make sure council hears what a great job they're doing.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
That's all.
Okay. Moving to public gallery questions and/or comments. Please come to the podium and state your name to start with. And this is meant for questions of clarification of points that were gone over earlier in the meeting.
Sorry, Reeve, yes. My name is Trevor Slade. Question actually question for you to Dawn with regards to the water for the whole municipality of North Huron. So I just want to understand what the municipality is doing. Obviously, making sure our tap is on full. How is that going to be impacting residents' water bills? Or if we know that, I guess the question is, how is that calculation being done?
Actually, I need to speak with Julie, but the intent is that it will not affect your average water bill. Either we will go on a flat rate or we will go on an averaging type of a thing. I'm not sure how the software works on it. So anyway, that's why I need to speak with Julie.
Okay.
Like it does some calculations, but anyway. But the intent is absolutely that we don't want to have extra billing because people are running the water.
Right. So more of a comment than I have a very big concern that only 50% of the residents in North Huron know about this. And the reason why I have that concern is we aren't the only municipality, and it has been probably a news story in most municipalities for the past, if not month, more than that. And I don't know whether it's the worry of the bill. I really don't like turning my tap on and watch water go down the drain, but so that's just more of a comment, more of that it's in the residents' best interest. Because if it freezes, you've got a whole lot more work and a whole lot more aggravation from you as a resident and the township to fix it. So I guess that was just more of my comment for that. I'm a little bit pessimist on how is it only 50% of the residents knowing that we have paper, internet, news reports every day. I'm flabbergasted, I guess, from that standpoint. But it's an eye opener, because if that's the rate we're getting for an emergency, I can't imagine what they're possible for an election or anything that's not of great issue that would happen. So that's really all my comment. But thanks, Tom, for the answer.
That if I may add, that in asking people to run water, basically to prevent the freezing damage, that we figured on trying to have it as revenue neutral as possible so that we wouldn't be charging. It's just that we could get away with a bunch less repairs down the road. Did you want to make another
Trevor, I
comment?
can answer that one. It's been on the radio, it's been in the newspapers, it's been everywhere. And I rent a home up in Point Clark out in the wintertime, and I called them, and I have a $2,600 bill for them to get the water back on from a plumber. So, from my point of view.
Danny?
Question about the motion to remove the bins for Kelly. Sorry, we're sharing a package here. Is that just recycling?
Just the recycling.
Just the recycling bins, and that's $1,500, correct? So we're still looking at a cost of running at, if my math's right, approximately $7.5 grand. According to your figure there, it was approximately $10,000 to run it, and that was away from all the things that you would have to pay whether you were running it or not.
No, the bins were part of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
1566.55 was for the bins at the site.
Okay.
We removed the bins as of September, I believe it was.
Okay.
So yeah, we just won't bring them back.
Okay. But sorry, so that's going to be about $8 grand to run the site then, beyond what is required for having the site open. You had a 9,000.
9,785.55 is what it was, and there was some revenue generated from the steel that was sold and the tipping fees. That's correct.
So that's about $8,200 or $8,200 then.
Other questions? Okay, we do have an in-camera. I'll take a motion to go in camera. Alan and Gordon, all in favor? Carried.